Bienvenue to Miji and Poppy's kitchen. And excuse my French literally, because I am going to be attempting a French meal today. Y'all come along with me and let's try this. I've never done this before. It's going to include quiche Lorraine, coq au vin, French salad, individual homemade baguettes, and then Gruyere au gratin potatoes. We're going to finish with dessert of salted butterscotch pots de crème, and then a French almond frangipane tart with raspberry coulis. I can't even pronounce half this stuff, so let's see if I can make it. So y'all come along. Let's try this together. It'll be fun. Okay, for our homemade baguettes. So I have never made French food before, but we are having book club over here tomorrow night. Today's Monday, book club is going to be Tuesday, and we're discussing a book that was set in France. And so I like to make the meal coincide with the book that we're reading. So we're going to do some French food. It looks like it's going to be fun and an adventure, so let's do this together. If you can't go to Paris, bring Paris home, right? Okay, so we're going to start with the homemade baguettes. This is using yeast and flour and all that. So it's going to take time. So that's why I'm doing this first, to let it rise throughout the day. I think it has to rise like 3 different times. So I'm going to do this and just let it go throughout the day so I can have this done and checked off so I don't have to worry about it tomorrow. Okay, so it says in the bowl of a stand mixer, you whisk together 1 2/3 cups warm water. And since we're working with yeast, you don't want it hot, it will kill the yeast. You don't want it cool or else it won't rise. Just right there at the warm level. And then 2.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast. And she said that this is a packet, so that's what I have. I have the packet, so I'm putting a packet in. And then 2 tablespoons of honey. And then we're going to cover that with a towel until the mixture is bubbly and foamy on top. She does not give a timeline for when bubbly and foamy should happen. So I'm going to do this. Going to whisk it together if my honey will come out. Golly. Okay, so I'm going to whisk my honey, yeast, warm water together, and I'm going to cover it up. We will see how long it takes for it to get bubbly and foamy, and then I will be back to let you know how long that took. Okay, so while the yeast is doing its thing, we're going to start with the quiche Lorraine. So she says to get a refrigerated pie crust, just that you get in the refrigerated section, because you're going to be using a tart pan, and that's the kind of pan that the bottom removes, and it's got the little crimped edges. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take that pie crust, put it in your pan, and it does a lot of the pretty for you because you're just going to push it into the little crimped spaces. I mean, you don't have to, just make sure it fits down in there. And then she said you can either trim away the extra at the top or just crimp it down. And so I'm just going to fold it down because you won't be able to tell once it bakes. And it does, these do turn out so pretty, and it just, you look like you're a professional pastry chef because you've got all these crimped edges on your crust, but really the pan does all the work for you. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and then you put it in the freezer for 15 minutes or the refrigerator for an hour. Don't really know the reason for that, but I just am following instructions. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to start on the pots de crème because I can't wait for that salted butterscotch little. Can't wait. Okay, I'm going to put this in the freezer. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm maybe more excited about this than anything else I'm going to make today because I love creme brulee. So the thought of salted butterscotch pot de crème, I mean, it had me at hello. Okay, so again, I'm going to have to read the recipe because I'm doing this for the first time. So it says that we are bringing 1/3 of a cup of water and 6 tablespoons granulated sugar to a boil. So I've already added that together. It says it takes about 5 to 6 minutes, which is true because this has been on for about 4 minutes. It says we're gonna stir until the sugar is dissolved. And that looks like it's dissolved. Continue to cook, stirring occasionally until water has been reduced. The mixture forms large bubbles and turns a medium amber color. Okay, so I see it starting to turn a little bit of a color, and you really don't want to do this once it starts turning the color. You don't want to keep it on there any longer because it'll harden up too much. And it says if the color's not changing at 5 minutes, increase the heat, but mine looks like it's doing well. And then when it does change to the amber color, we're going to add 2 cups of heavy cream. It says it's going to bubble up and seize up a little bit, but that you just continue to stir and it'll dissolve. And then we add 1/2 a cup of dark brown sugar and stir until that's dissolved. And then we've got some egg yolks and vanilla to whisk up and add to it to make it creamy. Okay, so this book that I'm talking about is called Isola, and it's by Allegra Goodman. It was one of the Reese Witherspoon book club suggestions, and so I read the summary of it, and it sounded so good, and so that's the book that I chose, and I'm so glad I did. It was so good. If you like to read, it's a historical fiction, but it's based on a true character. So if you like to read, you will love this book. It takes you on an adventure set back in the 1800s, which normally I don't love all that kind of stuff, but I loved this book, so I highly suggest Isola by Allegra Goodman. Okay, so this is getting a deeper color, and so I'll come back when it has really changed and let you see it. So while that is bubbling and getting darker, I'm going to go on to the next step, which is adding 6 egg yolks to 2 teaspoons vanilla. And so if you've never separated an egg before, it's very easy. This is Meiji style. Meiji does not do anything like perfectly, so just have fun with it is what I do. All right, so you crack an egg, and then over a bowl, you just kind of do it back and forth. I hope you can even see that. Let me move it closer. Okay, and then add it to your bowl. I've got one more to do, so let me move that over here. Crack an egg. Do the whites over one bowl. Just go back and forth like this, and it separates it for you. Drop it in. You're done. And then so I'm going to whisk the egg yolks and the vanilla together. This is almost done, and then we'll go on to the next step, which looks a little scary, so I'm anxious to see how this is going to go. Okay, so I know you're not going to be able to see this, but mine is turning a amber color. I'll let it get just a little bit darker, because the darker it is, the more flavor, but don't let it get too dark. Don't let, because I just burnt that first pot I did. True confessions, because I was doing other things. So anyway, keep a watch on it when it starts to begin turning, because like now it's just starting to get a really pretty. Okay, and I meant to tell you too, when you separate the eggs and you have the egg yolks and you've got the egg whites, what I do is I save the egg whites because I'm not going to use them for anything else in this recipe, and I just add a little bit to my eggs in the morning. Increases protein, and so it's a win-win. So I just save them in the refrigerator. Okay, I'm not going to let this get too much more amber. Let's see what she says to do. So we're going to carefully add the cream. So I've got 2 cups of heavy cream, and it does say it's going to seize up a bit and make some hard shards, but you're just going to continue stirring until everything is completely dissolved, and then you're going to add the 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So here it goes. I wish you could see this. I'm by myself, so I don't have anybody to film overhead, but I can't see the black pan anyway, but it's just like a little pretty, I don't even know what to call it, caramel color. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to carefully add the cream. Look, it's a, oh goodness. Okay. Now mine is not forming hard shards. Does that mean I'm not doing it right? We're just going to keep doing it. I'm following the instructions. Now that it's not forming hard shards, I don't know if I've done this right. We will press on, because that's just what you have to do. All right, says until the hard shards are dissolved, and since there aren't any in here, our job is complete, I guess. Okay, so I'm only cracking myself up, I know. Okay, so then we have whisked together the egg yolks and vanilla, and we're going to add those in a slow, steady stream, so that, whisking continuously, so let me get my whisk, so that we don't scramble the egg yolks. We are just adding them so a little at a time. And yes, I do see that I have spilt some on the stovetop. It's just going to sit there until I'm done with this, because I'm too nervous about reading the instructions. Okay. So far so good. I mean, it's then we're going to pour this through a fine mesh sieve back into the bowl, skim off any foam, and then divide them into ramekins or pots. I've got little ramekins. And then we're going to bake them. So I'll come back and show you how we're going to do that. Okay, so we've added everything together. It's a beautiful color. Again, I wish you could see this better, but it is a beautiful color. And so now it says we're going to pour it through a fine mesh sieve to, I don't know what we are sieving out, but I'm following instructions like my mama taught me. Okay. Why is that part not coming out? We'll do this. Oh, I see. There's like some clumps and stuff in there. Okay. Glad I listened to my mama. Okay, and then we're going to divide it between the ramekins. I have 9. You're using a pan with sides on it, and then you are going to pour hot water till it comes up to about halfway up the ramekins. It's called a water bath. And then we're going to cook it at 300 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes, and then let it all just cool in the water bath. And then you can either serve it or you can refrigerate it and serve it later. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to refrigerate this and serve it later. So let me go ahead and start putting it in the ramekins, and then I will do the water bath. And isn't that so pretty? Oh, I love it. Okay, then I'll do the water bath and cook it, and I'll show you how it turns out. Back to our baguettes. It says to, oh, and this, I'm not gonna lie, it's been about an hour since I put it in here, and it is totally frothy like it said it was gonna be, bubbly and foamy. But I did peek in at about 20 minutes, and it looked like it was getting bubbly and foamy, so not more than 20 minutes, I would say, but mine has been in there a little bit longer than 20 minutes. But anyway, so it says to add 3 to 4 cups all-purpose flour and 2 teaspoons salt. Okay, let me give you a little tip. Did you know I did not learn until my 50s? I used to just scoop, you know, I would just take my measuring cup, scoop it in the flour, and I have been reading lately that you don't do that because it packs it in too tight, and it uses too much flour. So now I carefully, believe it or not, scoop it in there with a spoon, and instead of scooping it out. So because it says 3 to 4 cups, I'm gonna err more on the 4-cup side, just because I've got instead, makes 2 big baguettes, and instead I'm gonna make 8 small ones so everybody can have their own. Okay, so that's 3. I'll probably do about 3 3/4. And then 2 teaspoons of salt. And you're going to mix this with a dough hook on your stand mixer. Now, if you do not have a stand mixer or a dough hook, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just following instructions. And so, I don't know. I'm sure there's a way to do this. Just Google it. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to do that. And it says you do that with the dough hook until it starts to come together. And then once all the flour is absorbed, you check, and if it's too much, if it's still too wet, you add a little flour. But if not, it should be tacky, not too wet. Okay, that's what it says. When the dough is the right consistency, we're going to knead it by either keeping it mixing on medium speed in the mixer for a full 5 minutes, or take it out of the bowl and knead it by hand on a lightly floured surface. Miji is going to leave it in the mixing bowl for 5 minutes with the dough hook. So I'm going to do that. I know you don't want to hear that, so we're about to do that part, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I kneaded it with the dough hook for 5 minutes, and it turned out perfectly. It's like it said, it's tacky but not wet. So what it says now is we're going to place it in a lightly oiled bowl and cover it and let it double in size for about an hour. So do that. Remember, I told you this rises 3 times. This will be the first time. Okay, and it smells so good. I can't wait to see how this turns out too. Okay, be right back. So we've got the first rise done on the baguettes, and it says you're gonna dump it out. Dumping. Okay, there it goes. Maybe I need to oil that better. Okay, and then it says you're going to pound out the air. That sounded like fun. Okay, pound out the air, and then you're going to fold it over on itself a few times. And then you're going to place it back in the bowl, cover it, and let it rise again for another hour. Okay. Y'all, never done this before. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Okay, so folding it over on itself. This is a few times. I'm gonna put a little bit more oil in the bowl. Okay, put it in there, cover it, another hour. Be back in a minute. Okay, so the dough has risen for the second time. It says to punch it down again, the fun part. And then what we're going to do is we're going to divide this into 2 and make 2 different logs out of it. We're going to cover it and let them rest for 30 minutes. It says just like rustic little, just put it together like this. And then let it rise for another 30 minutes. Cover this, let it rise for 30 minutes more, and then we'll shape them. What this recipe calls for is 2 big ones, but I'm going to do 8 individual little baguettes so everybody can have their own. I just thought that would be fun. So okay, I'm going to cover that, let it rise. Be right back. So these have rested for 30 minutes, and so now it says to shape it into 2 logs kind of with pointed ends. But instead, I'm going to do 8 separate ones. So I'm going to try to just divide this into 8 sections. Y'all, again, I don't know what I'm doing. And you put it on a parchment paper lined baking sheet. And it did say you put seam side down. So let me That looks like seams too. Okay, I'm going to oil my hands, spray some oil on it, and then, here it is. Okay, now let's see if this one goes a little smoother. It does. So oil your hands, or put a little flour on it. Okay, yeah, that's much better. Okay, so I'm going to do 8 of these, and then you cover them, let them rest again, and then we're going to bake them at 425, but I'll come back and do that. Okay, back to the Quiche Lorraine. I've gotten this out of the freezer, and I have mixed together 5 large eggs, a cup of heavy cream, 3/4 of a cup of half and half. Let's hope nobody is lactose intolerant, and a half of a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to pour this into the crust. And then it says we are going to add 3 ounces of thinly sliced prosciutto, yum, and 4 ounces of Gruyere cheese. Am I saying that right? Gruyere cheese, that's how I'm going to say it. Sprinkle with the cheese. Then tuck the prosciutto into the filling across the top of it. And it says most of each prosciutto pieces should be submerged into the egg mixture. Okay, I think I can do that. And I put more than what it called for in this cup, but it looks like I'm not going to need that. I'm going to need to follow instructions like my mama taught me, right? Okay, so then I'm going to tuck the prosciutto in. Night night. Tuck in. Don't know if I'm doing this right, y'all. We'll see. It might be. I think this looks good. Okay, so I'm going to finish doing this. I'm going to finish tucking. And then what we do is we've preheated the oven to 400 degrees with a sheet pan preheating in there with it, and we're going to put this on the sheet pan, and we put it on the lowest rack, it says, and we are going to cook that on the sheet pan for 25 to 35 minutes until the center no longer wiggles when gently moved. Can't say that for myself. And then okay, so that's what we're going to do. So I will be back to show you how this turns out. I have it in the oven, and if you're wondering why I'm doing that on Monday when the party's not until, or the meeting is not until Tuesday, it's because it says that you can cook it and then can be made a day ahead, cooled and refrigerated, and then before serving, rewarm in a 325 degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes. That just saves a lot of, I've got a lot more to make tomorrow, so that just saves a lot of, I guess, stress in making everything in one day. So I thought this would be easier since it gave me that option. So the Quiche Lorraine is cooling, the baguettes are rising, the butterscotch pots are cooking. And so now we're going to start the, what's it called? French Almond Frangipane Tart. Sounds so good. Okay, so already I've mixed together 1 1/4 cups flour, 1/4 of a cup of cornstarch, 1/2 of a cup of powdered sugar, and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. So now we're going to add a stick of melted butter and a tablespoon of water. And it did say to make sure you get all the butter. Okay, and a tablespoon of water, and you're going to stir that together until the dough comes together and or forms large crumbles. If the dough seems dry, you can add a tiny bit of extra water. Okay. Let's see. I think mine is going to form large crumbles. And then we're going to press that into, now I have a 10-inch tart pan. And it says to first do it around the edges so you can kind of press it up on the edges. And then you'll fill in the bottom part. Okay. Okay, so what you're going to do is, and this, make sure that you have sprayed it first so that it comes out easily. Even spray the sides. So I'm just pressing the dough up against the sides. So again, it's going to look pretty and look like you are a master pastry chef, when really it's the pan that does the work of making it pretty. Okay, so I've got it on the sides. Good grief, I hope I have enough dough to fill the bottom part now. Okay, let's see. Again, we're doing this together. I get to make the mistakes. And you get to laugh at me. That's barely going to cover it. This was classified as super easy. Well, it's covered, but I can't say that there's a whole lot. Oh, it did say to take a flat bottom. Wow, that just cracked me up. Like measuring cup or a flat bottom glass, and to press it down. I bet that's why, because this isn't very thick. So just okay. And so what we're going to do with now is rest for a second, take a breath, because that was hard. Prick the dough with a fork to prevent puffing. Okay. So when you can think of the things that are bugging you and just take it out on the crust. Okay. All right. Place the tart pan on a prepared baking sheet and bake for 10 minutes. So that means you have heated up the baking sheet just like we did on the Quiche Lorraine, and you've heated it up already, and then you're going to put this on there, and this is going to have a baked filling. So what we're going to do is put it in there for 10 minutes, take it down, and if we need to, press it down again with the measuring cup to make sure that it's good and flat on there, and then put it in there another 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and we'll come back and see how that goes. So for the filling of the tart, I have melted a stick of butter, I've added a cup of sugar, and it says to whisk that until it's combined. And then it says to add 3 eggs, and we whisk that in. And then we're going to add in vanilla and almond extract. 1/4 of a teaspoon, each one of the top. When you fill the top up, it's about a teaspoon, so I'm going to just put a little bit in the top. If you get a little too much almond, all the better, right? And then a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, so we whisk that, and then we are supposed to add a 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, right? Yes, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And 1 1/2 cups almond flour. I've already got that measured out. And we whisk that in. And then my crust is still baking, but once that gets out, I will put this in, and it says to transfer it to the tart shell. And gosh, this smells good. And then we are going to sprinkle some sliced almonds on top. And then we're going to bake it on a pan that has been heating in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes or until the tart is pretty golden brown. Okay, doing this step. Okay, be back in just a little bit. So the crust was good and brown, so I took it out, I filled it with the filling, and then you're going to put 1/4 cup of almonds, sliced almonds on it. Man, this looks good. Then you're going to put it back in the oven on the same sheet pan right here for 25 to 30 minutes. Then you are going to take it out, cover it with foil, and put it in for another 10 to 15 minutes, and that should be done. It says it's till it's no longer wobbly. So anyway, gonna do that, and next thing is to finish off the baguettes. So I'm gonna get those as soon as I put these in the oven. Okay, so funny story about the bread that I just made. Okay, so I put that down to rest, and then I realized what time it was. I needed to take my dad to his first radiation treatment, which prayers and positive thoughts are welcome for that. And then I had my grandson's ball game I had to go to. So the radiation treatment, since it was his first, took much longer than we thought it was going to. And then the ball game, and then I had to run to the grocery store and get a little something after the ball game. And so by the time I got home, it was 4 hours later instead of 20 minutes or however long I was supposed to let it rest. And they had, I guess, risen and deflated. So tonight we are having flatbread instead of baguettes. But you know what? It's still delicious. It still tastes the same. And these are friends. And so we'll just have a laugh together, and we will eat flatbread. Okay, for the French bistro salad, what the recipe calls for is to add the ingredients for the dressing in the bowl that you're going to serve it in and whisk it up, and then you put the salad greens in there and toss it together before you serve it. But because I'm not serving this for a while, I don't want to toss it yet, and so I'm going to mix them. I'm going to do them separately, and then before the ladies come, I'm going to pour the dressing over and toss it. Okay, so what I've put in here, and it's just going to be a fresh salad like they have in Europe. So these are the ingredients. You're going to have 3 tablespoons neutral flavored oil, and one of the options was avocado, so that's what I used, but they said you can have canola or grapeseed or sunflower. And then 1 tablespoon walnut oil. Well, I don't have that, so it said you could use extra virgin olive oil instead. That's what I did. 1/2 to 1 teaspoon Dijon mustard. I leaned more towards the 1 teaspoon part of that. 1/2 teaspoon salt. 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar, which I had, but it said you could also use cider vinegar, fresh lemon juice, or white wine vinegar. And then 1/4 teaspoon pepper. And then 7 to 8 teaspoons, 7 to 8 cups, you wouldn't have much salad, of tender salad greens. All right, and this is green leaf lettuce, and this is what she used. It was just so pretty. I thought, well, that goes well with a French fancy dinner. So pretty lettuce, so that's what we're doing. So I'm going to whisk this together, and they say this is really, really good, so I can't wait to try it. And then she said to take the time to tear it up into small bites so that people don't have to cut it and it's just ready to eat. So I'm going to do that, and like I said, before they come over, I will pour the dressing over it and toss it together, and we'll be ready to go. Now for the star of the show, the coq au vin, which means rooster in wine. But first, let me tell you, I scrapped the potatoes au gratin because there's supposed to be 9 of us in this book club, and there are 9 of us in this book club. So there were supposed to be 9 tonight, but because of illness and other things, only 5 are going to be here. So that's just way too much food, and Easter's next weekend, so I'm just going to do the potatoes au gratin for Easter, and we'll learn that together then. Okay, so I have cooked on a skillet, 4 thickly sliced bacon pieces until they're crisp. You leave the bacon grease in the skillet, and then you heat the skillet up to medium, which it's been heating, so I took it off for a minute while I explained that. So you're gonna let it heat up a little bit, and then you're supposed to have 8 chicken thighs is what this recipe calls for, and it has been those thighs have been marinating in the refrigerator overnight in a, let's see, was it 2 cups of red wine and a cup of chicken stock. And so they suggest like a Pinot Noir for the red wine, so that's what I did. And you save the combination of the wine and the chicken stock, but you take the chicken out and let it dry. So you dry your chicken thighs with a paper towel, and then you put them in this pan. It says to brown them 2 minutes on each side. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll come right back. So I browned the chicken on both sides. You don't have to cook it all the way through. You're just browning it 2 minutes on each side. Then I took those off, and then I added, it's supposed to be 16 ounces of mushrooms, but I thought that looked like too much, so I only added 8. Some people don't like mushrooms, but anyway, so I have let this cook for 5 minutes, and then we're going to add 2 carrots that have been chopped into small pieces and 6 cloves of garlic. Oh, didn't mean to add the bowl. And what's it say? I think we are going to cook that for a minute, because this really, I mean, I know carrots aren't going to cook in a minute, but this is going to simmer for 45 minutes, so they're going to cook while it's simmering. Okay, so then it says we're going to add the wine and chicken broth to the pot. Okay, now you do not want to eat sauce that raw meat has been marinating in, but if you're going to cook it, it's fine. So that's what you're doing. You're adding this marinade that you marinated the meat in. Okay, so we did that. That is not what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to add flour so we're going to add flour now. Okay, see, you just have to be inventive when you cook. This may not turn out exactly the way that it's supposed to, but I bet it will. Okay, so added the flour. I bet it's just to thicken up the sauce anyway. So, okay. So we add that, and then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste and a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Okay, and we are going to combine that, bring it to a boil. So I'm turning up the heat, and then we're going to reduce the heat to medium-low, put the bacon and a cup of pearl onions. I just got some frozen ones and let it thaw out. So a cup of pearl onions, and so we bring that mixture to a boil, and then we're going to add the chicken back in and make sure that the liquid is over the top of it, and then we're going to add a bay leaf and 1.5 teaspoons of thyme, and then we're going to cover it, and we're going to simmer it for 45 to 50 minutes, and then I think it's going to be done. Yes, and then it's done. Okay, I can do this. And that is, the flour, adding it later was perfectly fine. It's just to thicken up the sauce. Okay, so I'm about to add all the stuff in, cover it, and let it simmer, and we will be back in 45 to 50 minutes. Okay, we're ready to go. We've got the salted butterscotch creme de pot, the quiche Lorraine, the Bistro Salad, the coq au vin. It smells delicious. the what was supposed to be baguettes that turned into flatbread, and the French almond, what did I say it was? Frangipane with raspberry coulis. All right, looks and smells delicious. I'll let you know how it goes.